Call it in the air. Heads or tails?
Tails.
Ah!
I win. You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm your coin flip winner, Justin.
And I'm your coin flip loser, Mike.
And this is episode 20, Free Picks.
Woo! Free Picks, the beginning.
The first.
The first. We are doing Free Picks. On my previous podcast, Pixel Tunes Radio, we ended the show with a Free Picks episode.
It was a very bittersweet episode.
Yes, it was. It was a very sad day for all. But Free Picks have returned, and we are doing them for you. We're going to be doing them probably every 20. That probably makes the most sense. I feel like we have so many different themes and so many different things that we're doing with the show that we just can't cram in Free Picks every 10 episodes. You know what I mean?
It's we have a lot going on and a lot in the works. Like the Free Picks. This is my first time doing one, but it was a lot of fun to put this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm definitely excited to do more. But with all the stuff we have in our things to do,
we've got too much.
Yeah,
the show is jam packed to the point where we're overbooked. So, but getting back to Free Picks, what are Free Picks? Free Picks is basically a roll of the dice. It's tracks that don't really have any particular theme or meaning. It's songs that we've maybe had on our Rolodex of music that we've been listening to for a while, or a track that we kind of set aside that wasn't quite right for a theme that we had in the previous episode. So you're basically going to encounter a wide variety of music. Yeah. And just to kind of give you an idea of what just happened. So we did a coin flip in the beginning of the Free Picks episode. We're going to be doing that every Free Pick. And essentially what that's going to do is that's going to determine not only who introduces the episode going forward, because we do every other episode, but also it's going to make it so that we play a track. So I picked a track and Justin picked a track. And so Justin won, so you listened to his pick.
Yep. That was Cyber Troopers Virtual On the Sega Saturn in 1996. The track was called Burned by Fire, and it was composed by Naoshi Kunisawa and Kentaro Koyama.
Yes, yeah. So that means that you're probably wondering, what did Mike pick? Well, if you're wondering, you can check it out on Patreon. We have our Patreon set up, and we'll post a track just as a little splurge extra thing that we could do for our patrons who are just dying to know what Free Pick I picked.
See what you missed out on.
Yeah. So we'll leave that exclusive to patrons. You can find out more information about becoming a patron at the end of this episode. So, Cyber Troopers Virtual On. I've not played this one.
No?
No.
This is
I have played Virtual On games before, but not this one specifically.
Yeah, so this one is technically the Sega Saturn game, but this was ported to a bunch of different systems. If I remember correctly, this is also the arcade game.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a mech fighter, unlike any other mech fighter that I had played when I first saw this. So the first time I saw this game wasn't on the Sega Saturn or Dreamcast or any of the other systems. It was in the arcade at our local, Milford Rec or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like two cabinets side by side with a seat and dual joysticks.
Kind of like Daytona, but for mechs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, your dual joysticks are all for piloting. Put them both forward to go forward, both backwards to go backwards, and rotate by alternating which direction. And then there was fire triggers and boosters on the where your thumbs go.
Kind of like a 3D arena type of game, in a way. Yeah,
it's like a 3D fighter, except with giant mechs,
right.
And different abilities based on what you do and if you're in the air and stuff like that.
And you don't get a chance to see like the human pilots to those mechs, right? It's just the mechs themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, the whole thing's just all about the mechs.
It's coming back to me. So this track was very, you did it, sort of like very congratulatory / militant sounding.
Yeah, a little on the laid back side.
Yeah.
Sort of
Especially
like an
towards the
easygoing.
end.
Yeah. I don't know if it was this one specifically or one of the other ones entries in the series, but they re-released it on Xbox Live Arcade on the Xbox 360.
That's right.
That was one of the few games that I 100%ed on the on the Xbox.
Nice. So you played this in the arcades and kind of grew up with it, and so you were kind of like, oh, I'll just keep playing it.
Yeah. My friends and I just we really gravitated towards the game. It was usually bouncing between like this, War, Final Assault, or DDR. All right, so that track that we just heard had two composers, the first being Naoshi Kunisawa. Started doing music composition in 1995 on Zaxxon's Mother Base 2000, and went on to do two of the Virtual On games, Cyber Troopers Virtual On in 1996, and Cyber Troopers Virtual On Oratorio Tangram in 1999. I think that was the arcade game. And the last thing we have here, did music CRI for Surf Rocket Racers in 2000. A relatively short resume there. And then we also have Kentaro Koyama, similarly short, started with Virtua Cop in 1994 doing sound composition. Did two Virtual On games as well, Cyber Troopers Virtual On 1996 and Cyber Troopers Virtual On Mars in 2003.
Okay.
The last thing we have here that isn't a compilation game is Yakuza 3 in 2009 did sound production.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move into our first track. What do you got for us, Justin?
All right. So to start us off at the top, we're going to hear a track from Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, classic SNES game.
Absolutely.
Came out in 1996. The track is Fight Against Culex and was composed by a combination of Nobuo Uematsu for the Final Fantasy style stuff and Yoko Shimomura, who did the entirety of that soundtrack.
Cool.
That was our first track. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars came out on the SNES in 1996, and the track was called Fight Against Culex, composed by Nobuo Uematsu and Yoko Shimamura. What's up?
This is going to be really embarrassing.
Uh-oh.
I got this game when it came out. I had the strategy guide.
Oh, wow.
I loved this game. It was fantastic. And this was one of my... It's funny because on our Facebook group recently, one of our patrons, Chris Murray, actually asked top 5 RPGs.
Yes.
Totally forgot about this game. But... The more embarrassing thing, dude, I thought that this was a Final Fantasy track.
Oh, that's not embarrassing at all. It totally sounds like a...
I know,
it absolutely sounds like
I legit thought it was like, if you were like, oh yeah, this is from Final Fantasy IV, I'd be like, okay, cool.
No,
like...
It's got everything about it screams Final Fantasy.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, aside from the fact that Square helped Nintendo, I mean, Yoko Shimamura did a fantastic soundtrack, and if this had been any other episode, I probably would have picked any of a number of her tracks.
Right.
But I wanted to do like the old sneaky thing and play a track from a game that sounds like a track from a different game.
Oh my goodness. No, seriously, legit thought that this was... It's like when you listen to the Chrono Trigger soundtrack and you hear the tracks that Nobuo Uematsu composed on that soundtrack, and you're like, this sounds like Final Fantasy. This doesn't sound like Chrono Trigger. It's the same thing here.
Yeah. So are you saying that when you downloaded the track as you were putting everything together, you were like,
I thought it was a mistake.
Right?
I legit thought, I was like,
that's right, because I posted it for you.
I downloaded it from multiple sources, so I went back and listened to all 3 sources and was like, no, that couldn't be. I was like, did I really forget this song?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I thought...
Well, it only plays at one part in the game.
I know, but it just blows my mind because the soundtrack is so good in this game, but like, at the same time, I was just specifically listening to this track and I was just like, this sounds exactly like a Final Fantasy song. It doesn't sound like a Mario RPG song.
No.
It sounds like a Final Fantasy song.
It doesn't sound like a... like that. So that's what I was saying. Like the rest of the soundtrack is fantastic, and it's not very Final Fantasy-esque. Like there are hints of like Final Fantasy-ish stuff you could probably argue, but I feel like it's more RPG-oriented music, and they do a really good job of blending like the Mario music into a more like adventure-y role-playing game type of a theme. But then of course there's the one hidden boss in the game named Culex who takes a whole bunch of stuff to get to, and it's just straight up a Final Fantasy battle. And I mean, even that track, like you said, it's so easy to mistake it because it starts out with the classic da 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 da, like every Final Fantasy battle track. Yeah, no, I'm still... This track is seriously messing with my mind. Like, from the bass line to the... Even the melody, the melody, the strings in it, like, the entire track in my mind, buried in my subconscious is like, don't listen to him, Mike. He's lying to you. He's lying to you. The internet is lying to you. Everyone's lying to you. This was in Final Fantasy, I don't know, 4.2. 4.2. Yeah. The sequel, or 5.2. I don't know. So you mentioned that you got this like right off the hop. Oh, yeah, dude. I was so stoked. The book. So stoked. Surprisingly, I loved this game, but I did not end up playing it until I was in college. Oh, really? Okay. For whatever reason, I saw Super Mario RPG, and at the time, now this is my embarrassing story for this, I didn't know what an RPG was, and it was really funny because I've played Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, but role-playing game RPG, that like the term had never really been used around me. Yeah. So the most embarrassing part was when I got to like high school and I made some new friends, and they're like, "Oh, what kind of video games do you play?" And I was going over stuff like the different games that I play, and turn-based adventure games where you take on the roles of various different characters and learn about their backstories. And at the time, I was more into like Batman Returns, like the beat 'em ups or the action, not so much the RPGs. Yeah. So like I was going through those. Busting Loose. Well, but so my buddy says to me, "Well, do you like RPGs?" And I was like, "What's an RPG?" And he said, "Oh, it stands for role playing game." And I said, "Well, I guess in Batman Returns, you're playing the role of Batman." Like, it just completely went over my head. Right. And it wasn't until like maybe a year or so later that I understood what an RPG was, and I was like, "Oh, I play Final Fantasy, man." I love Final Fantasy. Okay. I don't know. That's not more embarrassing than mine. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like your embarrassing story, like it's so easy to make that mistake.
My embarrassing story continues to plague me because it's still in the back of my head like, don't listen to anybody.
Well, I mean, my story keeps me up at night. Like I'll be just about to fall asleep and my brain will go, hey, remember that time you said that stupid thing?
So, yeah, this game is about the tale of Mario. It starts off like a very similar like Mario game where the princess gets captured, Princess Peach or Toadstool, whatever you want to call her these days. And Mario goes to rescue her, runs into Bowser, and then they all get basically separated because this giant sword plunges in from the sky. And it's this character, I think his name's Smithy, right? Yeah, Smithy. Smithy the sword, and he's the ultimate bad guy. And he's basically like, yo, Bowser, I'm taking over your castle. Boom. And Mario gets separated, Peach gets separated, Bowser gets separated. And what's cool is this is like the first time you ever play as Bowser in a Mario game. So you could pick up Bowser, you can pick up Mario, obviously Mario. No Luigi, though, which is kind of a shame.
He wasn't
not until the
whole
sequels.
Thing.
Like, you know,
which weren't really, I don't know if I'd call them sequels.
They were, okay. So Yoko Shimomura did the soundtracks on all of them,
That's
I believe.
fair. But they're all of the sequels are paper-based.
Paper-based, Paper Mario, right.
And then there's Mario Sticker Saga or whatever.
Mario Superstar Saga. You end up meeting a bunch of characters like Gino, who's like this doll who everyone friggin' loves. Which I get it. I mean, he's kind of like the anti-hero sort of. I don't know. Like, I don't even remember enough about Gino, to be honest with you. I just think that he had some cool spells and he had a cool hat and a cloak, and everyone was like, oh my god, Gino! So
he's the marshmallow-looking guy?
No, that's Mallow.
Oh, that is Mallow.
That is Mallow, yeah. But yeah, great game, great soundtrack. Yoko Shimomura, God, we've talked about her before, but she's done just so many great soundtracks over the years. I think we can pretty much sum it up with, Kingdom Hearts, Radiant Historia. Everyone's got to check out that game. And Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
And then Nobuo Uematsu, who we talk about almost every episode.
It's getting to be a thing now.
No stranger to the podcast. We'll talk about him later. So, all right, my turn.
Yes.
Let's go with a really interesting track, which I recently discovered. This is Daffy Duck in Hollywood. This came out on the Mega Drive and PAL regions exclusively, so Europe and Australia. This came out in 1995. The track is called Options, also known as Game Over, and it's by the always amazing Matt Furness, with sound drivers by Sean Hollingworth.
Nice.
back to XVGM Radio. That little ditty was from Daffy Duck in Hollywood. That is a Mega Drive PAL exclusive. Came out in 1995. That track was Options Game Over by Matt Furnace with drivers by Sean Hollingworth. Oh my goodness. Wow. I love every part of this.
It's a very interesting track. And I don't mean that negatively. Like,
Right.
oh, that was interesting.
That is interesting.
No, but, like, I hear Daffy Duck, and like my main experience with a Daffy Duck game is Daffy Duck and the Marvin Missions
Sure.
on the SNES.
Oh yeah!
So
oh god, that soundtrack! I remember when we played that on the. You and I played that on the Super NES
Yeah.
Deep Cuts episode, the Pixel Tunes.
It was a thing.
It was a thing. That was one of the moments when I was like, should I really do this? Should I bring this guy back?
That's fair. To be fair, though, like I think even Nico said it. You asked for the deep cuts.
Yeah,
and,
that is a deep cut, definitely.
But so like I'm used to something like things that sound more Looney Tunes.
Sure,
like even
sure.
on the Tiny Toons games and stuff like that. And this sounds nothing like that. And then you said Matt Furnace, and I was like, yeah. That's it's not going to be like classic Looney Tunes. It's going to be like just awesome,
Oh,
generally
my goodness.
awesome.
Well, that's the thing. Like the European composers, like Alberto Jose Gonzalez,
Yep.
Tim Fallon,
Barry Leach.
They all are really good at making music that does not fit the game whatsoever, but is surprisingly amazing.
Yeah.
Just like you wouldn't expect that this, game would have such amazing music, but the whole soundtrack is great. Just the track has so many different layers and changes so many different time signature changes, and it's very, very progressive track. You've got that awesome rolling synth that sounds like growling bassline synth that almost sounds like something out of Gauntlet 4 on the Genesis, which was done by Hitoshi Sakamoto. When I first heard it with that arpeggiated, I thought, okay, either Tim Fallon wrote this and joined up with Hitoshi Sakamoto, or Matt Furnace is just playing with fire here. And then the track rolls into that awesome hip-hop beat, that do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then you've got this really lighthearted, more typical Matt Furnace, kind of synth bounce to it, almost like an Alberto Jose Gonzalez thing. The dun da 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 da. And then after that, it kind of rolls into this really awesome doom digga doo digga doo digga doo, almost like a gallop bass line.
Oh, yeah,
and you've got it's a little bit more of a serious tone to it. And the crazy thing is, this is an options and game over screen song. Who is gonna sit there in the me? Yeah. I would sit there in the options and listen to this for 4 hours. So yeah.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. This game though is really cool.
Is it?
It is.
That was my next question. With the music sounding like it does, is the game any good?
Yeah, you're going around as Daffy Duck. I don't know the plot or anything, but yeah, you're going around as Daffy Duck in all these various different, I guess, Hollywood-esque movie settings. You've got swamps and caves and caverns type locations and sci-fi areas and whatnot, and you're kind of going around with this like a rocket launcher, but it's launching I don't know, if Tang the drink was in bubble form.
So orange bubbles?
I guess. Yeah, but I'm sure it's delicious. And you're launching it at these bad dudes, and not the bad dudes, but just bad dudes in general. And that's pretty much the game. It's like an action platformer. Really great graphics. They even include voice samples for Daffy Duck. So yeah, it's really cool. This game was supposed to get a North American release. It never did, despite the fact that the cart itself, the Mega Drive cart, if you bought it on eBay or whatever, you could pop it right into your NTSC North American system, and it plays. It's no issues. Which a lot of PAL and European carts did do that, actually.
Really?
Right around the time of '93, Sega was putting a little bit more of a hard stop to games from working. That's what I've read. So if you bought a PAL cart and you tried to play it on the system, it may not work. First off, it wouldn't fit in the actual cartridge slot, so you'd have to do a hardware region mod or put it in a Game Genie or whatever you're going to do. But yeah, surprisingly enough, this game, if you pop it into your Genesis, it works without any issues, and I believe it plays at 60 hertz. It's the same game no matter what system you're playing it on. From what I understand,
really cool, actually.
Yeah, pretty neat. Yeah. So Matt Furnace, we talked about him before on the podcast, but I will certainly bring him up again because he is fantastic, and we've interviewed him on Pixel Tunes. I'm gonna pick a few random games. Mortal Kombat, he did the Genesis conversion of Dan Forden's soundtrack and pretty much did new arrangements for it, new compositions for it. One track that really stands out is The Pit. Cool Spot in 93, which I believe is, again, another conversion that most likely was done with Tommy Tallarico, because I believe Cool Spot was done with Tommy Tallarico.
Cool Spot, is that the 7-Up game?
Dude.
Okay.
Yeah. Mickey Mania in 94, he did the music on that. Let's go a little bit later. Nanotech Warrior in 97. And he also did Fear Effect in 2000.
Ooh.
And he recently did one track for Fear Effect Sedna. He did the intro music for Fear Effect Sedna. He kind of came back and did that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Alrighty. That's it for me. What do you got?
All right, so next up, I want to play for you a cute little game that you may or may not have heard of. It's called Offspring Fling. I got it on Steam. It's out for Mac OS and Windows. Came out in 2012. The track is called Lil Piggy. L-I-L, Lil Piggy.
Lil Piggy.
And it was composed by Alec Haloka.
I'm going to ask you one question before I hit play.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to hear yeah?
That would be awesome, but no.
Okay. Well, I'll hit play anyways. Let's give it a listen.
Welcome back. That was Lil Piggy from Offspring Fling. Came out in Mac OS and Windows via Steam in 2012, and it was composed by Alec Haloka.
Offspring Fling. I've never heard of this game, so
No?
you're gonna have to clue me in.
No, that's fair. So I had never heard of it either until I got it as part of like a Humble Bundle.
Okay.
I forget what the game that I bought the bundle for actually was, but I saw this, and it's a really cute little puzzle game.
It looks kind of like visual style, like Sunsoft's Trip World meets like, I want to say, Cuphead a little bit. It's got that 30s kind of vibe to it, the 20s, 30s cartoon.
A little. The art style is kind of a mix between like pixelated, like old school gaming graphics, and like sketchy, like it was sketched on a sketch pad.
Right.
But it's interesting. So you play this I don't know what they're called. I'm just gonna call them puffs. You play this like mama puff, and in every level, almost like Lemmings, you have a limited number of baby puffs, and The idea of the game is you need to get to the end of the level, and you generally do that by picking up the baby puffs and throwing them in certain areas because you can't really jump very high, and there's a lot of limitations as to how you can move. So you fling your offspring around the level to try to get to different areas.
I get it.
But it's cute. A lot of the music is just like this. It's very like sort of calming and relaxing.
Circus music.
Yeah, almost like
that's
circus-y.
the vibe I got.
Yeah, no, that's fair. There's a lot of what is it like the drums sort of sound like those mechanical like drum things. I'm trying to think of what that device is called. That's like all of those instruments and the pipes and the drums and the little marionettes that play them and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about?
A death keyboard.
Probably. No, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
The thing that plays the creepy organ.
Yeah.
The death organ. Yeah. Let's just call it the death organ.
Sure.
Okay. So you played the game, you enjoyed the game, and you enjoyed the music. So the rest of the music kind of sounds very similar to this.
Yeah,
okay,
cool. It's all really relaxing. It all has pretty much the same sort of sound and vibe to it.
Kind of like a puzzle game, like a puzzle platformer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually probably exactly what it would be called.
Yeah.
Cool. Puzzles platform. Yes.
Yeah,
puzzle platformer.
Yeah. There you go. So this composer, I've never heard of the composer either. What have they worked on?
So Alec has a few things, although I don't know how much of this I've ever heard of. Started out doing sound design in 2006 with, I have heard of that game. A game called I'm Okay, a murder simulator.
What?
You've never heard of this? Oh, it
No.
was super controversial.
Really?
If I remember correctly, you play as Osaki Kim, whose son was beaten to death with a baseball bat by 14-year-old who loved violent video games. So you're going through and basically killing people in the gaming industry. Not like specific people, but yeah, like ultimately, like you're
fake game developers, basically.
Yeah. It's
my
it's a
goodness.
2D like shoot 'em up platformer.
Okay.
And yeah, it was hugely controversial when it was coming out because people there was a lot of backlash against it.
Yeah. Wow.
I forgot about that. But that's
wow.
That's where Alec got to start.
Okay, then.
And then went on to do music in Verge 2008, Owl Country also in 2008, Crayon Physics Deluxe in 2009, Towerfall Ascension in 2014, and Night in the Woods in 2017. That's a good game too.
Oh yeah.
It's really cute. Has this sort of almost like flash animation style graphics. You play this like disaffected youth cat. It's all
Disinfected youth?
Disaffected.
Disaffected. Okay, that'd be weird if you were a disinfected youth.
You're
I'm covered in
Lysol,
guys, I swear.
covered in Lysol wipes. Yeah, your like best friend is like this wolf character, and then there's this like goth gator chick. It was pretty popular.
Goth skater chick, right?
Goth gator, like
gator?
An alligator.
Oh, okay.
'Cause you're a cat.
I'm mishearing everything today.
Sorry, yeah, no, like you're a cat.
Okay.
Named May, and then you have this friend who is I believe is either a wolf or a fox, and then
And then there's a gator.
a gator. Yes.
Okay, so it's basically a Sonic game.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's an adventure game.
Cool. Neato.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we are getting a call on our line, according to Janine, our producer. Let's go ahead and take that call. Caller, you are on the air with XVGM Radio. Who is this?
Hi, Pizza Ninja? Yeah, I'd like to order a pizza to go, please.
Hey, Justin, I don't think this guy heard me when I said this is a podcast, a radio podcast. So let's take his order. Here, watch this. Yeah, sure. What can I get you?
Alright, so I want a large, and it's gonna be half wall meat and half one-up mushrooms, and the whole thing with fire flowers on it. And give me a large surge as well, please.
Go ahead. Give him like a fake price.
That'll be $65.89.
Wow. It seems a little pricey for pizza. Alright, about how long?
10 minutes.
Holy smokes, that's pretty fast. Okay.
Pick up or delivery?
Pick up, please. The co-hosts I've got on my show today are starving. All my commissary has is hot cocoa and different flavors of kale chips. Yeah, thanks.
I don't know what that was, but they are not getting pizza.
No, definitely not. that guy sounded really familiar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It sounded like Ed from my old co-host from Pixel Tunes Radio and now currently VG Embassy.
Yeah.
Possibly? No, it couldn't be.
Well, we'll find out if he says anything about not getting it.
Yeah.
Pizza he ordered.
We'll see if he calls back. But that reminds me of the times when he used to pick tracks from games like the Sharp X68000 for consoles like that or computers like that. And so I'm going to pick a track inspired by him for a game called Continental. This is a JRPG that came out on the X68000. This came out in 1992. The track, which I couldn't find a real name for, is just simply known as FRPG 2B. And it's by Kiyotaka Sato, Ryu Takami, and Megumi Matsura, and also Baki.
Ooh.
What a fun little dancey number. Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was Continental on the Sharp X68000. Came out in 1992. It also came out on the MSX computer systems.
That makes sense.
As well. And the track was simply known as FRPG 2B by Kiyotaka Sato, Ryu Takami, and Megumi Matsura, as well as Baki.
Yep. That was, of course, followed up by FRPG not to be.
To be or to be. To be or not to be. That is simply the question. Regarding the composers first, just to get this out of the way, Kiyotaka Sato is credited on the actual MP3 that I got for this track. I could not find really much information about them. Ryu Takami is very popular. Ryu Takami worked on stuff like Rusty, did a lot of stuff with the Sharp X68000, the PC-98, worked on Yuno Kono Yono Hate de Koi Uta Shoujo, who worked with Ryu Umamoto, I believe, on that. Although I can't remember if... Yeah, I believe that was the soundtrack that he worked on, so I think he also... The two of them worked on it hand in hand. Mushi Himasama Futari version 1.5 in 2009 did the Menu BGM, and Death Smiles in 2009 did the Menu background music for the 360 version of that game. So they are credited for a lot more than that, if I recall. I just don't have it in front of me. Megumi Matsura. Regarding Baki, I couldn't find any information on Baki, but I did find somebody named Adam Baki who did do composition, but they did one game. So, and then Megumi Matsura was credited for Battle Blaze in 92, Football Fury in 92, and Viewpoint in 92. All did sound on those. So, yeah, not a ton of information on the composers, but I figured I'd get that out of the way. So, what did you think of this track?
It was nice. It was very twinkly.
Yeah.
Almost like a toy piano.
Yeah.
Like the very like high-pitched twinkly sounds.
Yeah, it was hard to pinpoint genres on this one. Like, is it a dance number? It felt kind of like 80s dance. You know, especially with that like almost like a two-step thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very like 80s, not quite freestyle, but definitely like of the 80s pop dance era.
Yeah.
So I was digging it. I was feeling it. I was grooving to it. So I love that bass line, the kind of funky bass line that's in almost every Sharp X68000 game. So Continental is a interesting little title.
I mean, based on the music, I feel like it's either like an RPG type game or some kind of... Okay, I was going to say my next guess was going to be like an action adventure, but yeah, RPG really feels like what that music was coming out of.
It's another one of those like eroge hentai style games, but obviously it's a JRPG, so you have a small party of heroes, it's top down, and it's random turn-based battles. So
random turn-based? Oh, yeah, random battles.
Random turn-based, random battles that are turn-based in terms of combat, and the perspective is first person as far as
like Dragon Quest.
Kind of like the early Dragon Quest games. Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
You said random turn-based battles. Yeah. And I was like, your turns are randomly generated.
Randomly, you will be fighting turn-based. I'm not going to tell you how you're fighting otherwise. There's not really too much to distinguish between this games. The only thing that it has is digital giblets. So but yeah, so that's all I got. I don't know. I don't really know too much about this one. But yeah,
you've never played it?
I've never played it. No, I know, right? Shocker. A brave young warrior, and you get to name the warrior, whoever whatever you want to name him, like
Vegeta or
Buttman
or Buttman. Butts the protagonist.
Butts. Yeah. It's like Bart's. Final Fantasy V. Butts. So he basically is like almost like a semi-retired like warrior who decides, I'm just gonna retire and hang out in the city and hit on chicks, ladies, females, if you will. And one day, some very good-looking girl busts into his room or into his house, and she's like, "Hey, I got a message from the Emperor. A princess is missing." And so, you go try to rescue her. Pretty basic plot. So. But yeah, it's in all Japanese. Obviously, Sharp X68000 games tend to be. I don't know if this one has a fan translation or English translation, so yeah. But musically, it's really good. I love that bouncy vibe, the 80s dance vibe to it that I kind of got from it. I also, again, like you said, that very like twinkly, like toy box kind of environment that kind of it fits into. So, I was grooving.
Out of curiosity, how did you come across this one?
Randomly, looking up like what I normally do when I'm just hanging out bored. I'll be like, I want to listen to some Sharp X68000 stuff for PC 98, and I'll Google it and be like, how can I fit this into a show? Free picks.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, actually, it's funny. I downloaded this one because I liked it so much, and I put it in the folder for this episode, and then I picked all my other tracks and never wrote it down on our doc.
Oh no.
And totally forgot about it. And then last night when I was going through the picks to gather everything for this episode, I was like, oops, I totally forgot about this track. Oh, I love this track. I'm going to play this track. So nice. I bumped off something else. So you're welcome. But anyways, let's move on to something a little bit more familiar for most of our listeners. What do you got for us?
All right, so next up is a game that I think I've talked about a bit on the Facebook group. So I believe Cam Worma and I were talking about how we had played this at Mike's house a while back. The game is Super Dodgeball on the NES, came out in 1988, and the track is called Beanball by Kazuo Sawa.
XVGM Radio.
Welcome back from Super Dodgeball on the NES in 1988. The track was Beanball, and it was composed by Kazuo Sawa.
I love the 50s sock hop vibe to this one.
Like sock hop surfer. Almost in a lot of ways.
Surfer vibe. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I think I mentioned in our last episode No Nostalgia Classics.
Yeah.
Because we played River City Ransom, also by the same person.
Yes.
And there is quite a bit of crossover in a lot of ways between those games.
Yes.
Not literally like their characters, but the character models, for the most part, look very similar. And there are also a number of tracks that sound very similar.
Yes.
In particular, the character select in both Super Dodgeball and River City Ransom is almost the same thing.
Yeah, and that's because it's all developed by Technos.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the games are part of a series called the Kunio-kun series.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's basically a series starring this character, Kunio-kun, I believe. The first game in the series was called Niketsu Koha Kunio-kun, which translates to Hot Blood Tough Guy Kunio.
Ooh. Hot blood tough guy.
Yeah, basically a high school kid who is also a fighter. So that is it. Tons and tons of games in this series. The most recent one, I believe, was River City Tokyo Rumble, which came out on the 3DS, I think, and the PS4. I know there were a few games that came out within the past few years, but
Neat.
yeah, good stuff. A good chunk of the music done by Kazuo Sawa.
Yes.
Yeah. What else has he done other than...
Oh, I mean, how much time do you have? So I'll do what you did for Mr. Furnace and just pick out a couple of randoms.
Yeah.
So started out doing composition in 1987 on Tokoro-san no Mamoru mo Semeru mo. Kickoff 2 in 1991 did the music on that. Mazin Saga Mutant Fighter 1993 did composition on that.
I think Mazin Saga came over here, actually.
Probably?
Maybe. I think it's a Genesis game.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, it actually almost looks like it would be related to the Mazinger. It is related to Mazinger Z.
Oh, yes. Okay, sweet.
Bishojo Senshi Sailor Moon S.
Yes.
Kuru Kuden in 1995.
That's
did that as well.
beat 'em up?
Oh, that was the puzzle strategy tactic game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there were some beat 'em ups that came out that were
Yeah.
Sailor Moon-esque.
And the last one I'll say is he did sound effects in 1997 on Saber Marionette J Battle Sabers.
Okay. Neato.
Yeah. He's done some really, really good stuff. And I mean, this game, I don't need to ask if you've played it. You've played Super Dodgeball.
My brother actually had Super Dodgeball for the Game Boy Advance. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, I really want to check that version out. I've heard mixed reviews about it.
It's pretty fun. I mean, I played a little bit when I was hanging out with him. So
Yeah, no, this is a relatively fun game for me just in general. Like it's again going back to when I was a kid. It was just one of the games that I had,
Sure.
and I got really used to playing around all of the stutter and lag in this game because there is a lot of it.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the reasons you're not a big fan of it, I'd assume.
No, not really. Because I mean, like, there's some games that I like. There's a couple beat 'em ups and action games on the NES that have a ton of stutter and flickering sprites and stuff like that. Like,
but I mean, it can get really bad in this game.
I remember you playing it and being like, wow, this is rough. Like, this is rough to watch. Which is crazy because, like, you see stuff like that and then you see stuff like Rekka on the Famicom, same system, and you're just like, why? Like two totally different games, granted 4 years apart, it was Summer Carnival 92 Rekka. Versus Super Dodgeball, which came out in '88. So, I guess 4 years worth of development can change some things around, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to know if they could redo it on the NES and like what would they do to improve it? Because like I thought the soundtrack itself for one was fantastic. Like there is a lot of tracks in this game that like if I could just put the controller down and listen, I would. I mean, I have the soundtrack in MP3 format, so I can actually, but
that is true.
The game itself is just.
But it means so much more when you're playing the game and you do it.
And when you're hearing the actual hardware making those noises, as opposed to like the MP3 recording.
Right. I do the same thing with the Mega Man 3 stage. The password music, like not when you get a password, but when you are doing the stage select, because there's no timer on that, and also when you get a power.
Yes.
So I do the same thing. So
Fair enough.
all right. So speaking of the NES, we got a little bit of an NES block here. So we're gonna follow it up with a game that I literally just got in my hands, courtesy of one of my own personal YouTube channel patrons. Trevin Adams actually sent me this. Flying Warriors on the NES. It came out in 1991. This track is Tournament Stage 1, also known as Practice, and it's by Akinori Sawa.
Ever order a pizza on the phone, but never get it because you accidentally ordered from a video game music podcast? Hi, Bernie Schmuckles here from Bernie Schmuckles Fossils Muscles. If you're tired of feeding your video game music podcast host nothing but kale chips and hot cocoa, feed them a plate of my hot, steamy, buttery mussels, fresh from the local New England sea. And the best part is that every order comes with a complimentary video game music podcast suggestion. Try us out today. The first order is only $65.89 with enough muscles to keep you from fussling. Ready in 10 minutes. Call 222-875-5999 extension 1080 and tell them Bernie sent ya.
You are back! Thank you for returning. And that was Flying Warriors on the NES. Came out in 1991. This track was called Tournament Stage 1, also known as Practice, and it's by Akinori Sawa. So, I'm going to try really hard not to spoil this game because I'm actually going to be reviewing it as part of a patron request.
Oh, nice.
It's my $5 tier for my own individual Patreon, and anybody that does it gets the ability to let me do a mini review of a game. So, super nice of him. He was actually like, here, I'm just going to send you this game. So he actually bought the game on eBay and shipped it to me. And he was like, you should check out this game, so you should review this one. So I was like, all right, cool. So yeah, at some point in the near future, I'm going to review this one, so stay tuned for that. But for those of you who are wondering about the game itself, I'm not going to talk too much about the game. What I can tell you is it's from the Hiryu no Ken franchise, which is weird because it's a Famicom exclusive series, and this game is a combination of two different games from that series, Hiryu no Ken 2 Dragon no Tsubasa and Hiryu no Ken 3 5 Nin no Ryu Senshi. Tongue twister there. And so, yeah, the first game that came out in the series, I'm assuming is Hiryu no Ken 1, is Flying Dragon, the Secret Scroll in the US. So they did bring that one over and called it Flying Dragon. But yeah, this one is weird, man. Like, for the cover art, and I don't know how they're going to implement these characters, but they've got these like superhero-esque characters that are all hanging out on this box art, hanging up in the clouds or whatever, and you know, it's all like very like Marvel superhero-y-ish.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, there's like, regarding the gameplay, it's like a mix of a platforming game and then like a tournament fighter where you're like doing side-scrolling, like fighting almost like
Street
like
Fighter
Karate
game?
Kid almost.
Oh, okay.
Where you have those moments in Karate Kid where it's like a tournament where it's like 1 versus 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's, from what I understand, that's what it's about. And then there's also like RPG elements too, where you have these boss battles and you have to fight these bosses with like turn-based, like, you know, you select this. You have, you know, your different attacks. Okay, I'm going to use this spell. Again, I'm not super familiar with it, but it's a kind of like a hybrid mix of a bunch of different types of gameplay styles. So that is all I know. I'm not talking about the plot at all because I want to surprise myself. So I apologize for those who do tune in and do want that information. But stay tuned for the review.
And after hearing that, the music makes a bit of sense. Like, I did dig this track.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm going to come out and say that the track, especially that like really kind of heavy metal section right after the beginning, sounded like right out of POW for the NES, Prisoners of War. It sounds like they took the SNK sound driver and implemented that dun 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 dun. That whole part sounded like something right out of POW. It just like hit me over the head. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. So I love this game's soundtrack already just for this track. But then it kind of goes into that more like floaty,
the arpeggiated
fluty kind of arpeggios, and so I was digging that as well. And then right before the end, it kind of goes into this like flourish and then loops back to the beginning. So pretty good track, pretty impressive stuff there.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. So regarding the composer, Akinori Sawa worked on pretty much all the Hiryu no Ken games up until I think the last one, which came out in 97, and that was the N64 game. So all these games, I believe, were developed by Culture Brain, which I believe is a company that no longer exists. But yeah, that was Virtua Fighter Kids, like the SD style, kind of like chibi fighters, but like 3D. So it looks like the Final Fantasy VII chibi characters fighting, basically. So yeah, I want to track that game down because it sounds like it'd be pretty fun.
Cute.
You know, yeah. Also did The Magic of Scheherazade. I think I pronounced that right. Scheherazade, yeah. He was uncredited for that, as well as Baseball Simulator 1000. He was uncredited for that in 89. Moved on to Super Ninja Boy in 91, Ultimate Fighter in 1992, and then basically did the Hiryu no Ken series, as well as Super Chinese World 2, which I believe, again, was the Ninja Bros for the Super NES. So, and then in 94, Osu Karate Bu. But yeah, he hasn't done anything since 97, so that is it for that track and that game.
So we are going to listen to a track from Gitaru Man. Came out on the PS2 in 2002. The track is called Born to be Bone by Sadayoshi Okamoto and Yosuke Sato, both of Coil. Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was Gitaru Man from the PS2 era of games. Came out in 2002. The track is called Born to be Bone, and it was composed by Sadayoshi Okamoto and Yosuke Sato of Coil. And we are now going to hear about Mike's favorite instrument. Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you think of that special instrument?
I was a big fan of the mouth weasel.
So during the break, we had a brief discussion about what's actually called a mouth harp.
I always thought it was called a mouth weasel.
I don't know why.
You know what it is a friend of mine in high school had one, and I think he used to call it a mouth weasel. And I think just by proxy, I used to call it a mouth weasel.
I mean, that's fair.
I learned something today. It's actually called a mouth harp. It's also called a Jew's harp, interestingly enough.
I've never heard that term before, and I haven't gotten far enough in the Wikipedia entry to know why it was called that.
Which is weird because it's almost always used exclusively in tracks like this. These like weird Western-esque, kind of movie soundtrack vibe things. It was also apparently used in Final Fantasy VIII in the card game.
Yeah, the Triple Triad theme song.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Mouth weasel, man.
The mouth weasel was well
weaseled. It was well oiled and well weaseled.
So this is a game that I'm actually not super familiar with. I've seen Gitaru Man. I think I played the PSP version.
Do you play with a guitar or do you play with a controller?
No, you play with a controller. It's a combination of the directional pads and the cross circle. buttons
kind of like Parappa. Or Jammerlamy.
Yes.
But like way more intense.
Way more intense, mostly because of the music. I would say it's probably on the same level as far as like difficulty and the type of thing. It's a rhythm game.
Yeah.
And it's mostly like rock music and stuff. All the music is done by these two guys that I mentioned, Sadayoshi Okamoto and Yosuke Sato. They are a two-man unit called Coil, C-O-I-L, all capital. They actually performed 8 songs in the game. They don't have a whole heck of a lot else on them.
Okay.
Both of their resumes, are, as far as video games go, is just Gitaru Man in 2002.
Okay. Interesting. And also, I believe they probably contributed to Gitaru Man Lives, which was the PSP port.
Possibly. They didn't do all the tracks on Gitaru Man. I believe there were more than 8 tracks in the game.
Okay. Interesting. I've never played Gitaru Man either, but the music's always been pretty phenomenal from everything that I've heard from it. So it's definitely one of those games I want to check out. So.
Just taking a look here. There are a number of artists that contributed to this game. There's a ton of music, and it's all pretty good. You mentioned Gitaru Man Lives. That was a PSP one.
Yes.
I didn't own it. I had a friend who owned it, and they let me play it for a while, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But not cool enough to buy because I just didn't do much with the PSP, and eventually, I still have it, but it's probably dead.
Dude, there's so much good stuff on the PSP.
Yeah.
There
was a lot of really good stuff. It just died out.
The unfortunate part, and maybe if I could sit down and actually figure it out, I'm sure there's a workaround for it, but my PSP doesn't connect to my internet anymore because of the format for the modem. So if you are looking to download Gitaru Man Lives, just buy the game on eBay. So.
Or get it on the PlayStation Network. I'm sure it's out for like the PS2, or I'm sorry, the PS4, the PS3 PlayStation Network download.
Maybe. That's a good question. I'm not sure. All right, I guess we'll move into our next track.
Yeah.
So, I picked a random PC98 game, and it's called Cyberblock Metal Orange. And surprise, surprise, it has digital giblets. PC98 was the console/computer system. 93 was the year of release, and this track, which is awesome, by the way, was composed by Hitoshi Sakamoto, Masaharu Iwata, and Yoshio Furukawa.
What's the name of the track?
Oh, it's called Opening.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Should have mentioned that. You have returned to XVGM Radio, and that was Cyber Block Metal Orange. That came out on the PC 98 in 1993. That track was opening, and it was by Hitoshi Sakamoto, if you couldn't tell, Masaharu Iwata, and Yoshio Furukawa. What do you think of this one?
I feel like it was a heavy metal track. Like,
Yeah.
The guitar, the bass, the drums, it was just headbanging a bit
so
there.
Good. Yeah. Love that soaring, like, lead melody.
Yeah. The one thing I would like to know is how they made the name to this. Like, it feels like they just threw darts at a board. They're like, all right, what do we call this? Cyber.
Yeah.
Cyber Block.
Yeah.
Metal Orange. Yeah.
So I could maybe shed some light on that. So this is a Breakout clone. You know, the game
okay.
Breakout
Yeah.
with the blocks and
Arkanoid Breakout.
Arkanoid Breakout. Yeah. This is a hentai version of that. And I think you get your choice of lady in various different, very bright, colorful hair color. You get a brunette, a green-haired, like minty green-haired girl, a purple-haired girl, a blue-haired girl, and a like orangey redhead girl.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where they're getting it from, is maybe the orange-haired girl is like one of the lead characters or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe.
But that is what I know about the game. So the characters are... I don't think it's from an anime or anything. I couldn't find any information on Cyberblock Metal Orange as far as it being like a franchise outside of this game. But yeah, it's your pretty standard digital giblet excuse for a Breakout clone. So that's pretty much all I know about this game. So it's pretty obscure. It came out on the PC 88 as well as the Sharp X68000, and I like both of those versions, but man, the PC 98 just has so much punch to it.
Yes, it does.
I mean, when you listen to those other versions, they sound good, but they also sound a lot more flat to me. Whereas you get that really strong, intense, like do, like really punchy bass line and punchy drums.
Yeah.
It just punches you in the
Metal Orange.
in the Metal Orange. So yeah. Dig this track. So the composers, I guess we can talk a little bit about them. Hitoshi Sakamoto, Lord, what hasn't he done? Man, I love this guy's music. We actually talked about one of his games earlier. He did an arrangement and composition for Gauntlet 4 on the Sega Genesis in 93. Apparently he did Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, on the Genesis, which makes total sense because that soundtrack is incredible. It's really good stuff.
And that was very different from the SNES version, right?
Yes, and what's interesting is that game has all music from the show. So they took Ron Wasserman's tracks from the Power Rangers show, and they basically made like metalized versions for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really good stuff. And the game is super fun. I reviewed it on my channel, actually, so... yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So, and then he also did Vagrant Story in 2000. He did...
That's a good game.
Yep. Dragon's Crown in 2013. He was the sound producer on that. He also... Didn't he create Base Escape?
Yeah, I was going to say Base Escape, yeah.
Yeah. So, he is just a lord of VGM. Masaharu Iwata also has quite a number of games and frequently works with Hitoshi Sakamoto, most likely a member of Base Escape as well. He did games like Magical Chase, which is insanely expensive TurboGrafx game. Did Gauntlet 4, again with Hitoshi Sakamoto. Did Bloody Roar in 97, working for Konami. He also did Bloody Roar 2 as well. His last game he was credited for was a port of Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age in 2017, where he did additional composition. Prior to that, he was also credited for his work on Odin Sphere, the re-release on PS4 Left Throssar. Yoshio Furukawa, really quick, Veritex in 91, which has a phenomenal Genesis Mega Drive exclusive soundtrack.
Yeah.
Star Platinum in 96, he did music on, as well as Chip Chan Kick in 96. So that's all I got. But yeah,
Star Platinum.
Phenomenal composers. You know, this one's probably the more playable of the PC 98 games. So if you can get the emulator running on like Launchbox or something like that, you could probably boot this one up and just play Breakout and just stare at digital giblets. I don't know. Yeah, pick your color.
Digiblets.
Oh, it looks like we are getting a call on the request hotline. Janine, can you forward that call over to us?
Caller, you're on the air with XVGM Radio. Who is this?
Hi, this is Julia Hartley from Final Fantasy VIII. I'd like to request a song I wrote. It's called Julia. because I wrote it.
Yeah, that we can definitely do.
Sure thing.
One of my favorite games. So
We were talking about it earlier with the...
Yeah,
Yeah.
The triple triad.
Yeah.
So let's play Julia from Final Fantasy VIII. Came out in the PS1 in 1999, and it was composed by who? Nobuo Uematsu.
Nice.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well. All right, that was Julia from Final Fantasy VIII, requested by Julia from Final Fantasy VIII. That was on the PS1 in 1999, composed by Nobuo Uematsu.
You know, as much hate as I give this game all the time, I gotta say, I love the music in this game.
It had some killer music.
It
It was
really
very
did.
sappy.
Yeah.
A lot of it. I mean, there's a waltz that's based on the same melody. I mean, that's one of the things that Final Fantasy likes to do is they have this like theme song, quote unquote.
Sure.
It's like
Like
not
a
the
motif?
theme. Yeah,
That
that's,
they-
I always forget that word.
Yeah,
motif.
I know.
But yeah, they always have like this. In Final Fantasy IX, it was Melodies of Life. In Final Fantasy VIII, it's Julia Arise on Me. I forget what it was in 7. It's probably Aerith's theme.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
But they have a lot of songs that just it has that melody in there, and this game has this melody. If you had tuned in to our Valentine's Day Patreon live show, you will have heard the song Eyes on Me, which is also from 8, which is the same melody, just with vocals.
Yeah. You know, looking back, it's been 20 years since this game came out. As of very recently, I think it was like this past week, was the...
Holy crap, you're right.
Yeah, this past week, 20 years ago, Final Fantasy VIII came out, and when I say that, I'm talking about as of 2/13/2019, which is the date we're recording this.
Right.
So, yeah, it was sometime earlier in the week or last week that it hit that date. You know, I look back really fondly and also really angrily at this game because coming off of the high that was Final Fantasy VII for me, seeing the character designs for this game.
It looked so cool.
It looked so good. I mean, I loved the character designs. It wasn't quite like Tetsuya Nomura, I believe.
so.
Yeah. It wasn't him going full blown like he did in like 10, for example, where it's like, let me just put zippers everywhere, you know? Belts and zippers for everyone.
Now, this one was a lot more down to earth and realistic.
Yeah, it was. And it had an interesting plot where you're playing as this character Squall, and he's super emo, and he's just such a downer, and he's, guys, get out of my way, God. Just everything, whatever.
There are so many good memes about him because he is such...
So whiny.
Oh my god, so whiny. And I mean, to be fair, Cloud is whiny in Final Fantasy VII.
Super whiny,
But
agreed.
Squall takes the cake
Yeah.
and the cupcakes and the dish.
And all the baked goods.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to be fair, they did balance him out with Selfie.
Yeah. Oh my God. She loves trains.
She
I don't know if you
really
know that.
loves trains.
Yeah. But I loved all the character designs, and then when I met the characters, I liked half of them.
Yeah.
Like I liked Irving. I didn't like the whole thing with Laguna. Like, it just was too jarring to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It feels a lot better as you get further in the game, and it makes a lot more sense as you get further in the game.
Okay.
There's a lot of this whole, like, displaced memories thing, and...
I got really far.
No, you did, but because of where you stopped,
Yeah.
you missed out on all of the wrapping up and tying off of loose ends and connections that they make. I could give you some of that information, but I don't know how much you care about spoilers.
Sure, no, don't do it, because I eventually want to go back, and I know I keep saying it.
I know.
But for those who don't know what I'm talking about, all I'm going to say is orphanage. It's a plot twist, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in any video game as far as a plot twist goes.
It felt really dumb when you get to that point. The separating point here being, Mike went, oh my god, this is so dumb, I can't do this. And
I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done. I can't play this game anymore. Shut it off, traded it in.
And then you bought it again later. Got to the same point.
And here's the crazy thing, is I was so hyped for this game, I bought every single action figure.
Oh my god.
So I had all the action figures. I sold every single one for like practically nothing too, because the game had just come out. But like, I got really far in the game. I got to this point and was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in a video game. I'm done. And I sold all the action figures, sold the guide, sold the game, took all the money, and bought a better game with it. But then years later, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a second chance. And I bought the game, and I bought the strategy guide. And I got to the same point, and I was like, oh my god, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in a video game. And I was like, done. Sold the game, sold the guide. Years later, after that, I was probably...
You bought it a third time?
Yeah, I bought the game a third time. It has sat in my collection with a strategy guide, and it has not moved. One of these days, I'm gonna get back to this game, and I'm gonna beat it, and I'm gonna see the ending. But that is...
The ending is really what ties it all together. Like, I will agree with you that point of the game is very frustrating because of all the things that you know and all the things that you learn. It's just like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, but when I got to that point, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But I had this sliver of faith that, like, they're going to wrap this up. They're going to make it make more sense. And I will say, it gets a little convoluted, but the way that they explain it in the end makes enough sense that I was happy with it.
So Nobuo Uematsu, who we've talked about numerous times on almost every episode, has done Final Fantasy. Good night. Yeah. Last story in 2011. Unchained Blades in 2011 did the main theme on that. Lord of Arcana did some of the music on that. Not all of it, but did some of it on 2010 for the PSP release.
Terra Battle in 2014.
Yeah.
Fairy Fencer F in 2014.
And like I said, Final Fantasy.
Yeah. all of them. Well, mostly.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll roll into my last track. Here we go.
Close us out.
Legend of Kage 2, which came out in 2008 on the DS. This track is called The Heavens Weep, and it's by Kenichiro Iwasaki and Masato Koshikawa. Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was my final pick for the Free Picks episode. This was Legend of Kage 2, which came out on the DS exclusively in 2008. The track was called The Heavens Weep, and that was by Kenichiro Iwasaki and Masato Koshikawa. What do you think of this one?
It kind of reminds me of the Cyberblock one, not in play style specifically, but it felt almost kind of metally with that
like that MIDI guitar that kind of came in.
So there's a combination of like metal 80s, I don't know if I'd say synth pop or synth wave with like the synth hits, and then a little bit of Japanese flair with that like flute.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say it's more 90s than the 80s. It reminded me a lot of like the 90s kind of like techno that was coming out, like dance stuff like La Bouche and stuff like that. Like Rhythm as a Dancer, like that type of music where it's just like that. You got that. I'm gonna say twarmpy, but it's not in the Genesis. That that bass line, that was like just littered all over 90s music.
That's fair too. The thing that made it feel kind of 80s for me was just like the da 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 da.
Yeah,
the
and those
hits.
keys, the da 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 da. Yeah,
but
definitely.
I would say maybe like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, I could see that.
It feels right.
Yeah, definitely. I feel bad for that guitar because it sounds like a cat dying. It's just like it's like trying to do a solo.
Yeah.
It's MIDI guitar. What are you gonna do? But I do really like those more Japanese flourishes that you kind of get. Those
like the flute.
Yeah, the more Asian kind of style. And also the keyboard runs the
oh yeah,
almost like I want to say a shamisen, but it's not a shamisen.
No, we're back to the shamisen.
Back to the shamisen.
Only been like 10 episodes.
Yes, gotta bring it back. So this is an interesting game. I picked this up fairly recently for the Square Enix Black Friday sale, and they had this game on sale for $5 on their site. And so I was like, $5? Legend of Kage 2? I was like, I've never played it. Whatever, $5 for a DS game, can't go wrong. And it was selling for far more than that, so I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And it was pretty surprising, actually. I was pretty happy with it. The first Legend of Kage game, I believe it was created by Taito, and it is like if you took the physics from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and made an NES game with it. Super floaty.
Okay.
And it's one of those games where I always thought it was hilarious when I was like younger, playing like ROMs of it in like college. I'd be like, hey guys, watch this. And I'd be like jumping all over the place, like super high. And the levels just feel like they never end. This game is a lot different than that. It's got actual dedicated story, and it has a lot of like legend that kind of meets actual Japanese history. You're playing as the ninja Kage from the first game. You can use like a katana or a shuriken. You can also pick a female ninja, also known as a kunoichi, and her name is Chihiro, and she is actually raised by Hanzo Hattori from Japanese lore.
Yeah.
So their whole mission, they both have different storylines for how their own story comes to be, but the whole point of the game is you have to rescue this princess named Kirihime. And she was kidnapped by a villain who's being controlled by a demon named Yoshiro Yukikusa. And then he has a ninja who's kind of like this dude who you keep running into, who's like the evil right-hand man named Yukinosuke Kirigi. So you're trying to take them out. You can gain all these different skills and stuff. There's up to 17 different ninjutsu attacks that you can master in this game. But they also have different skills, like you can do like climbing, hanging from ceilings, all different sort of stuff that you can do. And then you get the like ninpo skills as well that you would get in like a Ninja Gaiden game where you'd like different like power-ups, like
like
fireballs.
Yeah,
the fireballs, stuff like that. Yeah, so it's a pretty okay game. I'd say it's average, at best, or slightly above average at best. It controls okay, but when you jump, you can't like attack right immediately afterwards, so it's not as fluid and tight as Ninja Gaiden. It's more like if they took Ninja Gaiden and made it kind of not as good, and then like
it's like a subpar Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, and then basically we're like, hey, you remember Legend of Kage? Well, this is a sequel. Here you go. So this is a sequel to the '85 arcade game, and that got ported to the NES.
Yeah. And then it was also remade for the PSP at some point.
But yeah, that's our show. That's that track, and that's it. That's all. So we want to know what you guys thought of this episode, but what was your favorite track of the episode, Justin?
So I did like that Daffy Duck track. I liked it because it surprised me. It wasn't necessarily what I was expecting to hear, and it was actually kind of amazing in a lot of ways.
Right.
Once again, we have a Genesis track that didn't sound terrible because it was in the hands of someone who knew how to use that sound processor. So right now, I feel like it's between that and that Super Dodgeball track, partly because nostalgia, partly because I really do like the Beanball track.
Sure.
But I think I'm going to have to give it the Daffy Duck track. It came out of nowhere and surprised me.
Yeah. I was pretty blown away by that Daffy Duck track as well. It's tough because I love that Hitoshi Sakamoto PC-98 track. So I'm going to say the Daffy Duck track. And a seconded to Cyberblock. Yeah. So, but you know what? I also really like that Julia track. I don't think I remember. I've never heard it before, and I was just kind of blown away at how clear sounding it was, and it was just a really pretty track. So that's my third.
So I actually lied to you. The MP3 that I gave you was a recording of me playing the piano.
I knew it. You son of a biscuit.
To be fair, it could have been. I learned how to play that song on piano back in high school when I was taking piano lessons.
Oh, okay.
I performed that at 2 recitals.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. All right, so what was your favorite track of this episode? Let us know on either our email, xvgmradio@gmail.com, or facebook.com/groups/xvgmradio. Join that group, talk to us. We love talking with you guys and finding out what your favorite tracks were and finding out what you thought of this episode and other episodes. So definitely add us on there.
Yeah, you can also leave a comment on our website, xvgmradio.com. The episodes are posted there, and it's got a sort of blog style, so you can leave comments there as well. You can also reach out to us via Twitter or Instagram. Our handle is @xvgmradio on both of those sites.
And we now have merchandise. We do. Yeah, we just started introducing merchandise for you guys. We're starting off small.
Very small.
We're doing stickers. We have stickers available for you if you want to toss it on your laptop or toss it on your bag or whatever.
Or like tag a street sign.
Tag a street sign with XVGM Radio. So yeah, it's going to be our logo with the black and the green and everything and the cool 80s background. So you can check that out. It's on our website. You can actually buy it right there.
Yep.
And it's $5. It includes shipping. It's a really high quality sticker. And we're pretty excited to send that out to you guys. We also want to thank our patrons who this show would not be possible without. So what are their names?
Our show is made possible by listeners like Alex Messenger, Scott McElhone, Cam Werma, Chris Murray, Kung Fu Carlito of the Here's 3 podcast, Chris Myers, Peter Panda, The Autistic Gamer 89, and Mixmaster.
Yes. We also want to thank Ed Wilson, my co-host from Pixel Tunes Radio and now the VG Embassy. You can check out his podcast on thevgembassy.com. Definitely go check it out. It's good stuff, and it's XVGM Radio approved. So go check that out. But we should also add that he was the voice. He was confirmed to be the voice of the caller. So sorry, Ed, you didn't get your pizza. What do you think of that?
He's going to have to prank us back on his show now.
Yeah. So yeah, what do we got in 2 weeks?
So in 2 weeks, we have a really fun time lined up.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
So in 2 weeks, we are getting together with Lame Genie.
Yes.
If you are not familiar with Lame Genie, go look it up.
Yes.
We'll probably post some links after we release this episode to get people prepped. But it is going to be a good time. We are going to be sitting down with the band, talking about some of their favorite tracks, some of their favorite games. It's going to be a hoot.
Yes, we're going to be playing their tracks that they've covered, because they're a cover band, heavy metal, like video game music cover band, and they do some really amazing covers, and we are going to be playing their song and then playing the original to compare the two, so it's kind of like a versus episode in a lot of ways, but it's going to be super awesome, so excited, can't wait to have them on the show, and that's it.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this free picks, this first of many to come free picks. This is Mike
and Justin
signing off from XVGM Radio. Janine, can you forward that call over to us? Justin, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Hey, you're you're hot.
What?
I lost what I was gonna say, and it's just like,
Oh, pretty lady. Julia, you won't be my girlfriend. Don't tell my wife.
all right.
I'll just sub in.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I would like to request a song from Final Fantasy VIII. And that song is called Julia, and it's my name, Julia.
The re-release on PS4 Left Throsar, which I probably butchered.
Let's say that. How do you say that?
Left Throsar? I don't know.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that's how you say it.